Well, speaking of funny, I think AEW's locker room division is hilarious, by the way. And if you are not completely entertained by CM Punk talking shit about Hangman Page and everybody being all pissy about it, and you just don't think
Oh,
it's entertaining,
dude.
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's fantastic. But the AEW locker room is divided once again. When I thought all this stuff was over, we're now back to square one here.
So I got a lot of thoughts on this one. It's funny. I was listening to Warren. You listen to Warren Hayes' show? He's a good dude.
No, I see him on the Discord, but I have never listened to his show.
Yeah, he's a really good dude. I got to listen to his show today for the first time in a while. He's got sources in AEW who describe the environment last night as chill.
Huh.
You know, so I mean, like, it all depends, I think, of who you're talking to. Because let's say when Lanza was on our show a couple weeks ago. By the way, knocking on the door of the most downloaded show. So let's, if you
Yeah.
haven't downloaded that show with Joe Lanza, help your boys out because we're
Yeah.
super competitive and we want to win.
Let's
Uh,
let's pump those numbers up. We
Pump
got
those numbers, baby.
our boss has more downloads than us, so we got to beat
Right,
him.
we
Let's
gotta
do
win.
it.
We need to win.
Yeah.
So yeah, Warren called it, and I trust Warren. I'm not saying Dave's sources aren't right or anything. I think it all depends on who you talk to. Because like Joe Lanza said in our show a couple weeks ago, there is a camp that is pro Punk, there is a camp that is pro Bucks, and there is a much larger camp that just wants to go to work every day and doesn't
Mhm.
really care about all this. Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, you know what it sounds like to me, Mike? A work environment, not hostile or
Yeah.
otherwise, just a work environment. And this is kind of what I got in trouble with myself in Voices of Wrestling for, because it's funny to me that there are people who spend hours of their personal day thinking about CM Punk and how much they hate him and voicing their opinion about him on multiple Discord channels and on Twitter and all these places, talking about how infuriating it makes him, that CM Punk makes them. And then they have the audacity to say that CM Punk should really let go of his anger toward Hangman Page.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. That's
like
the most hilarious.
I took, like I said, I don't think Punk should, for his own mental well-being, should he probably let it go? Yeah, probably. But I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, I don't think he has to. Like, if he truly feels like that Page was a dick, which, you know, by all intents kind of was, we don't know if that guy ever apologized. So I mean, like, you don't have to let it go. You don't have to say, you know, well, I forgive you. Like, it doesn't matter if they punch each other in the face or not. Like, if you don't like a guy, right? You don't have to just suddenly like them because you guys had a verbal argument and you won. Like, I guarantee you, if your name comes up, Baron Corbin's going to say, "Yeah, fuck that guy." Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's just, you don't. And the idea that the idea, Lance always says that CM Punk. This is another Lance quote. I'm quoting him. It's like he always said that Punk holds other wrestlers to lengths that he himself cannot be held to, and I agree with that. I think he's right. But I think a lot of wrestling fans hold CM Punk specifically to lengths that they can't themselves be held to. Like I said, all these people that really are bothered by this to the point where they talk about it all the time. And they say, "I'm so sick of talking about Punk. Now here's 27 tweets and posts about him." I mean, like, aren't you doing the same thing? And at least he, like, knows this guy. That's his personal life. You're just a dude talking about this stuff on a internet because you have nothing better to do. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't understand why anybody would have like an emotional reaction one way or the other. Look, it ain't like he committed a hate crime, right? Like
Yeah.
he whooped up on the Young Bucks and he buried Adam Page in a promo. If he would have gotten fired, I would have said, yeah, probably earned that one. But he didn't,
I
and
would
he's
agree with
back.
that, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, he didn't, and he's back. It's time for everybody to move on. Would I recommend that Punk let go of his anger? Absolutely. But I'm not him. I don't look, and I get the feeling there's more to the story than we even know about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're only releasing certain tidbits, and they're only releasing the tidbits that make themselves look good. Both sides, by the way. So before we move on, I just want to read what Meltzer said. This was on his interview with John Pollock and Brandon Thurston. Great show, by the way, on Post Wrestling. He said, "There's a lot of divisiveness. It's so frustrating to me because I see it so closely and I feel like it shouldn't be there. It's worse now than it's been. It hasn't gotten better. Right now, it's at a pretty bad point again." And Warren Hayes said he talked to people that were in Chicago that all said that it was fine. Who was it in Chicago, JD?
Who was it in Chicago? Oh,
Yeah,
I don't
who
know.
was it in Chicago? The Elite were.
The Elite were not in Chicago, actually. So
Yeah.
draw
then,
that line where you will.
Yeah, so everybody seemed fine there, but the elite weren't in Chicago. Now, if the elite were in Chicago, maybe it would have been a different tone. Maybe that people that are friends with the Bucks probably wouldn't have been seen backstage hanging out with Punk and FTR because they wouldn't want to upset the Bucks, right? So, look, Punk is probably the most wrong, right? Because of his promo and because he did throw fists, but he is not the only wrong person in this situation. There's a lot of blame to go around. And the fact that it's still going on is A, completely ridiculous, and B, a podcaster's dream.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna say one last thing about this, and then I'm out. Did you see the Michael Jordan documentary, The First Dance,
Oh, the most
The
petty
Last
man
Dance Two?
alive. Yes, yeah,
Yes, yes,
of course.
exactly. The most petty man alive, and I think a lot of people talk about that, and they don't. They see a guy like Michael Jordan, and they bought into like the image that McDonald's and Gatorade and Nike crafted for Michael Jordan, the dude from Space Jam. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people saw the real guy and were like shocked and appalled. I was not, because I've grown up and spent my life around elite level athletics, and to to achieve things that are um, seen as impossible by average people, you're not wired the way an average person is, right? Elite level athletes, a lot of them need to feel like they're fighting against something constantly. And if they don't have a rival, they build up a rival in their head because it's the only way they can keep going. And it's not like something you're conscious of doing. Like it's something you just do to because you feel it. Like I feel that way in a lot of aspects. I remember a college coach called my dad and told him, "Don't let your son go to this college. It's the worst decision he'll do." And I got infuriated. And I'm like, I'm gonna prove that guy wrong. I'm gonna tell him as to his face that when I beat his guy, I'm gonna tell him that he was wrong. And I never got the chance because that guy's program went under, and I had a perfectly fine college career. So I mean, like, I I guess I just sympathize with the not sympathize, but I kind of understand the mindset. And I'm not saying it's a
Yeah.
100% healthy mindset, but it's an athlete mindset. It's the mindset of a type A that is remarkably driven. And I don't think a lot of people can really relate to that because they've never really been in those kind of situations. And Punk is wired a little bit like that, like to have that feel like you feel like the world is against you all the time, right? And
Mhm.
you can take any perceived slight to you personally and hold on to it, right? Because some people need that to achieve greatness. They really do. Like they need to fight. Everything has to be a fight. Everything has to be a competition. And normal people aren't wired like that. Right. I think that
Yeah.
a lot of times sports mentality creeps into wrestling, and wrestling fans aren't sports fans traditionally. So sometimes they hear these things and they're like, what? How? Huh? Like whenever wrestlers
Oh,
act like athletes or act
yeah.
like jerks, they just, well, I can't handle this. I can't handle
Oh,
this. They're acting like
this is toxic masculinity. I'm not going to
exactly.
stand for it.
Exactly, because sports, there's a lot of toxic masculinity in sports. There just
That's why they're
is. Like,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like to be a high level athlete, you can't be a happy person, really. When you are
Yeah.
happy, it's time to walk away because you have nothing left to fight for, right? And I don't
Mhm.
think people get that. Like, I think people think that athletes are just driven by money and success and don't really understand the competitive mindset or what it takes to put yourself into the competitive mindset. So they can't empathize with being a dick, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, it's because they're saying, well, I'm not a dick. Chances are you're probably a dick, by the way. But just listen for example, like, oh well, I'm not a dick. Well, then he shouldn't be a dick either. Look, you are setting this expectations for this complete stranger that you've never met before, and you're putting this guy on a pedestal, and you're telling him that he has to adhere to your personal expectations that you provided to him that he doesn't even know about. And then if he doesn't meet those expectations, now you hate this person, so you're going to stay online all day and insult them. You're the fucking person that needs to get a little bit of help here. No, I mean CM Punk should get some help too, but come
Oh, no
on.
doubt. No
Like,
doubt.
what are we talking about? Why does this affect people so much? So we're like, well, I just want to see CM Punk on my TV. Well, guess what? Yeah, I guarantee you watched Collision, and it was awesome
It
because
was a good
it
show.
had great ratings, right?
It did for a Saturday night show. It did pretty
Oh
good.
yeah, killed
Like
it.
you're right. Every high level athlete should be seeing some type of psychologist or a sports psychologist because trying to keep the competitive brain in line with the human brain is very difficult, right? It's
Yeah.
stuff that needs work. And if not worked on, one can certainly fall down into some bad places. Guilty is charged of that. So you need to work on yourself. But I mean, at the same time, this idea that that you can't understand how someone could think like this. It just, I don't know, it's funny to me. Like, it's like, do you not watch sports? Like, do you not see how every athlete in every other sport acts? Like, every team in America has a CM Punk on it, right?
Yes.
It's a cliche in regular sports, but no, but a lot of wrestling fans don't watch regular sports, so it's so foreign to them. I find the whole thing amusing.
Well, they look at these guys like fictional characters almost, and then
Because
they
we
have
tell them they
created what.
are, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what we've told ourselves. Like Vince McMahon for the last 30 years, like, well, this isn't real. These guys are playing characters, da 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 da. But wrestling is a lot more, and Bret Hart said it best in the Wrestling with Shadows documentary. It's a lot more real than people think,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, the last thing I wanted to do was to start with a CM Punk topic and use
Yeah, but
another CM Punk thumbnail for YouTube. But hey, they
we
keep
do good
providing us
numbers with
content.
that. We
Yeah,
do good
they
numbers with the
keep
Punk stuff.
they keep giving me content, so I got to keep doing it.